Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day. We appreciate you coming on with us. We love you dearly. You guys know that. And let's say hello to a few friends here before we get started. Michael, how are you? From Norland. Lori Lee, Ventura, California. Eric, salut. From Ottawa. Rita, good morning. And Tina, Nova Scotia. And Sandy from Minnesota. Nativity. Hi, Nativity. How are you? Beverly, I'm just teasing. Rain Cloud, Michigan. And Carrie, Nebraska. Good morning. Mary, Norwich. And Fran from Orangeville. Donna, Park Hill. Good morning. And Rose from the Kidneys of Canada. Nick from our staff. Lisa Marie. Dave, good morning. And Gary from Bolton. Jeanette from our staff. Wendy from Markham. Cecilia, Manitoulin. Yolande, bonjour. Georgie, Halifax. Nova Scotia. Janice, Brampton. Linda, St. Jude, Quebec. And Yvonne from Petawawa. And Gertie, how are you? Jeanette. And Barbara, Nova Scotia. Bobby, Kitchener. Donna from Newfoundland. And I can't see up there. Helga, how are you? Diane, LaSalle. Rhoda, Labrador. Serpa, good morning. Annette. And Joni, Alliston. Carol from Newfoundland. Jeanette, how are you? And Veronica, nice to have you on. Nancy, Gore's Landing. And Rita, how are you? And Karen from Peterborough. Patricia in Tennessee. Francis, good morning. Marilyn, Edmonton, Alberta. Joan. And who is up there? I think it was Johnny or Sherry. Oh, I like to sing, Sherry. And Catherine from Newfoundland. Rosa, a couple of more guys and let's get going. Leila from Verner. Karen, Little Britain. And Karen from Coldwater. Lots of Karens. Carol, good morning. And Maureen from Penticton, British Columbia. And I miss Kevin. I didn't mean to miss you, Kev. Rose, good morning. Bunny. And Vera from Newfoundland. Sharon from Kansas. And Wendy from Wasaga. Okay, now, let's talk some stats today. And Houston, we got a problem. Now, yesterday we talked about metabolic syndrome. I answered a few of your questions, but then we got into metabolic syndrome. 93% of the population has metabolic syndrome. Okay, so that's right on the top here. Okay, 93% of the population have metabolic syndrome. And what did we talk about yesterday? Just a little review. Four signs that you have metabolic syndrome. And how did I phrase that? Because I did the non-standard indicators. Non-standard. So indicators that you have metabolic syndrome, high blood pressure, normal but higher blood sugar, okay? And I like A1C, much more accurate, okay? The A1C. High triglycerides, low HDL, belly fat. Those are the indicators of metabolic syndrome. 93% have one of those. 93%. It's insanity. Okay? Now, we talked about 4 non-standard tests yesterday. Okay? One of them was ferritin. Okay? Iron. And when you have high ferritin, you can just about bet your boots that you have metabolic syndrome. 1. Elevated ferritin. Elevated uric acid. I think these things should become part of metabolic syndrome. Elevated uric acid, elevated ferritin. We see a lot of that today. There's a condition called hemochromatosis, but I'm not even talking about that. That's very high ferritin. But there, just over the years, when I saw high levels of uric acid, almost invariably they had metabolic syndrome too. When I saw high levels of ferritin, they had metabolic syndrome too. Mildly elevated liver enzyme testing, that's your ALT. Okay? And it doesn't have to be abnormal, it just has to be mildly elevated. It's telling you that the Costco parking lot, your liver, is getting gummed up by glycogen, too much fat in the liver. Big, big problem in our society today. And then fourthly, again, almost with no exceptions, people are walking around with metabolic syndrome and low levels of vitamin D. So those are non-standard testing. Non-standard testing for metabolic syndrome, okay? So Houston, we got a problem. And it bugs me that we're completely missing the point. We have a healthcare system that waits till you get sick. If, for example, on metabolic syndrome, if you have high blood pressure, okay, it's medication. It's never food. They don't talk to you about food. They talk to you about, well, now you're on a med. And then when your blood pressure is regulated, well, you have to stay on a med. But they're not looking at the foundation of the issue. Metabolic syndrome. And, you know, yesterday there was someone on our private Facebook group, and I really appreciate that, because they're frustrated and they let us know, okay? I haven't lost weight on the reset. And you know, and I've really tried to emphasize, okay? I've really tried to emphasize on the reset that first of all and primarily it's not meant for weight loss. Now, it is the best, and I mean this when I say it, it's the best weight loss program that there is. It's the healthiest weight loss program that there is. But that's not its primary objective. It's not. The primary objective of reset is to fix metabolic syndrome. It's to get your insulin resistance and fix it. Really important, guys. Because like I said yesterday, and like I've said before that, and like I've been saying for, I don't know how many years, I've been saying this, metabolically, when you're unwell, your risk of cancer heart disease, diabetes, and autoimmune are increased through the roof. Now, isn't that better that we prevent that and fix it? Get to the root problem. Get to the root problem. 93% of the population has metabolic syndrome. That, folks, is disaster. It's disaster in our society. All the tea in China, all the money in the world ain't going to fix that. You can throw money at this, and which they do. We spend more money in the United States and Canada on our so-called healthcare system. We need a complete paradigm shift. Is it going to happen? I'm not confident. I'm not confident. It's just there's too much money in the system. There's too much money. Let me show you what I mean by this, okay? Let me show you what I mean. And I got these statistics, and they're frightening, okay? Okay, now, you saw 93% of the population has metabolic syndrome. 25% of people over 18 are on mental health meds. 25% of the population are on mental health meds. Isn't that crazy? And guys, what I'm saying is this. Here's what I'm saying. And a study came out. I read it over the weekend. And this is why I made a little comment on it here, running. They took a group of people that were suffering from depression. They divided them in two. One group, they got them started to exercise, to start running. The other group, they just let them continue on their way. They were already on medication. All of them were on meds, but the group that they started running, supervised, they started getting them to exercise. You know what happened? That group almost invariably got off all their meds for mental health by exercising. But again, 25% of people over 18 are on some form of mental health prescription. Man, it's a tragedy. I got an honorary PhD. My wife gave it to me. Okay? Already have a PhD. But my wife gave me an honorary one in obituaryology. Okay? I love looking at obituaries. First of all, I make sure I'm not in there, okay? No, but seriously, I like looking at obituaries, I do. I see, and I'm talking about in Sudbury, every week, on average, 1 to 2 young people die, and you know what it is? It's either they're overdosing or suicide. In Sudbury, just my little hometown here, they average 30 a month. One every day of the month. Suicide or overdosing. It's sad, guys. It's terribly sad. We live in a crazy world. Okay, so let's continue on just with some statistics. Imagine 25% of the population are on some form of mental health. 40% of, okay? Let me get to the number 4 first. 300, okay, can you see that? 300 in 2021. 300 million prescriptions for antidepressants, SSRIs. 300 million prescriptions. Do you think we're going to change the way we operate? There's a lot of money in antidepressants, 300 million prescriptions in 2021. Look at this. Okay? 70 million prescriptions of ADHD prescriptions. 70 million prescriptions for ADHD. No talk of diet. No talk of vitamin E exercise. No, prescriptions. And then people, what happens with SSRIs, I've told you the history. I've been around a long time, the history of them. The SSRIs were meant to be temporary. Use these, black box warning. Use them temporarily. And then people are on them for the rest of their life. Oh, well. Are you taking your meds? And no talk about lifestyle changes. No talk about running. No talk about going to the gym. No talk about... We would be so much better if our society, and physicians especially, who have so much influence on people, if they would dedicate their lives not only to prevention, but if they have a depressed patient, a patient with anxiety, a patient with ADHD, look, I'm going to give you education here. I'm not giving you a prescription. And if I do, it's going to be temporary. But I'm getting you into a program where you're going to go and exercise every day. We're going to monitor your food. I know it's not easy, but that's a paradigm shift, guys. We need a drastic shift. We need a drastic shift in our so-called healthcare system. Okay? Now back to number 3. Okay? Because I just wanted to stick to the mental health first. 40%, okay? 40% of the population of kids entering high school, 40% of kids entering high school are overweight or obese. 40%. Guys, that's food. That's food. What we're doing is not working. What we're recommending for the way we eat is not working. It's not working. We need to get back to the way we used to eat. Eggs, meat, and cheese. Yeah, you can have some. Nobody got overweight by eating vegetables or fruit either. Okay? Oh, I eat too many bananas, I gain weight. Nah, it's not that. It's junk food. Okay? It's junk food. It's those processed foods. It is those bad oil foods. The middle aisles of our grocery store. Highly processed. Man-made. Imagine 40% of kids entering high school are overweight or obese. Okay, let's look at another one. Number 5, 70% of Americans, see that? 70% of Americans are on meds. 70%. 70% of Americans. And it's the same in Canada. I'm just reading American statistics. 70% of the population are on medications. And I'll tell you, they're trying to double down, in Canada especially, double down on this. You know why? They want to take supplements away from us. They are actively trying to take supplements away from us. And under the guise of, we're just trying to protect the population. As if we had a crisis in natural products and supplements. We don't have a crisis. But we're just trying to keep people safe because we're just too worried that you're taking too much vitamin D. I can tell you one thing guaranteed in statistics of 2021. Do you know not one person in North America, not one, died of an overdose of vitamin D? Not one. I mean, are you kidding me? Just about 400 million people between Canada and the United States, and not one person died of an overdose of vitamin D. You can look it up. And yet, we got to protect people from, you know what? About 300,000 people are hospitalized a year. And this is only in the USA from taking Tylenol. 300,000 are hospitalized. Liver, or kidney shutting down due to Tylenol or Advil. You can look that up. But you see, they're making this, and the media, look, you got to understand something about the media, okay? Why did they toe the line on the pharmaceuticals? They toe the line. Beware of vitamin D. It's going to kill you. And they'll search for stories. You know why? Because 80% of their revenues come in from the pharmaceutical company. Did you know that? 80% of their revenues come from them. Well, what do you think they're going to do? Shoot their sugar daddy in the foot? They're not doing that. You think they're going to go against pharmaceuticals? I remember screaming on my radio show years ago, 25, I can't remember exactly when. I was screaming about Vioxx. It was an anti-inflammatory. It was dangerous. And Pfizer knew it. They knew it. And 60,000 people died from taking Vioxx. 60,000. And you know what happened? Nothing happened. Not one person went to jail. And you have to go Google it to see that I'm right about that. You have to Google it because the media won't tell you about it. Yeah. 60,000 people documented died from a side effect of a medication called Vioxx. And nothing happened. I mean, you know what? Part of their budget, you know what Pfizer did? Part of their budget was when they brought the medication out, every time they sold one, they put away 10% so that they could pay off. Settle out of court for the people that would die from it. And what are we doing here in Canada? We want to outlaw supplements. I mean it. You want to get more than 1,000 IUs of vitamin D? You're going to need a prescription if they have their way. I'm not kidding you. Do you know that Canada has the strictest laws on the books already for supplements? They already have the strictest laws in the world. But Big Pharma. And we can't get the media to talk about it because they're bought and paid for. They're bought and paid for. Big money runs the show, guys. And look where we're at. 300 million prescriptions. 300 million prescriptions of antidepressants in 2021. Gee, there's only 300, that's in the USA. There's only 330 million people. You think they're going to let up on that sacred cow? That cash cow? They're not looking at alternatives in mental health. They're not looking. They're not looking because, are you kidding me? 300 million prescriptions for SSRIs? You think they're looking at alternatives? Like exercise and food? And supplements like vitamin D? Proven to be effective in mental health? Get in the sun. No, they'll tell you to stay out of the sun. Okay, 70% of Americans on meds. 70%. And number 6, 50% of adults in the United States. These are statistics. 50% of adults are diabetic or pre. And you guys know what I say about pre-diabetes. Okay? 50% of the population are diabetic or pre. Nah, if you're pre, you're a diabetic. I've taught you guys this. Diabetes is the last thing to happen in metabolic syndrome. It's not the first thing that happens. It's the last thing that happens. Diabetes is the last thing that happens when you get insulin resistance. Not the first thing, the last thing that happens. Where you're officially diabetic. Why is that? Your body's smart. Your body will not tolerate high blood sugar. It won't tolerate it. Your body is dedicated to keeping your sugar down. That's why it's so dangerous, guys, when your blood sugar starts to creep up. Okay? When your A1C is over 5.4, what do I say all the time? You're already on the Titanic. You're on the Titanic. You're on the broad road that leads to destruction, guys, because that is metabolic syndrome big time. And so it's really important, guys, when I see these statistics, they're frightening. They're frightening. Half of the population in the United States is really diabetic. Okay? Diabetes without diabetes. Because they've got numbers. And you're not a diabetic until you hit certain numbers. But you really are a diabetic if you have metabolic syndrome, and that's 93% of the population. They're really diabetic. Already, they have a bad relationship with carbohydrates. Them, 93%. Them and carbs don't get along. I don't know how many times I tell people that. What? You and carbs don't get along. Yeah, but I like them. Yeah, but they don't like you. You don't get along. You got problems. You got issues. You can't metabolize them properly. You're in 93% and your body's saying, hello? Hey, you, listen, Linda, listen, Larry, you're in doo-doo. You're on the Titanic. Get off. Turn around. Get in a lifeboat. What do we say about an ounce of prevention is worth, what, a pound of cure? Prevent, guys. True prevention. Our world is not into prevention, and don't hold your breath that we ever will be because of the background, because of money. There's too much money in disease. I'm sorry, there's just too much money in it. And like I said, I'm not optimistic that in my lifetime, I'm going to see much of a change. But I want to do my part. And I know you guys do. You do your part. But it's so important to understand the background and the disaster that we have, that we call our healthcare system. It's a disaster. And governments, God love them, but they just spend more money. They throw money at it. They throw money at it. As if that's the solution. We need a paradigm shift. I think we'd all agree on that. Anyway, start with you. Start with you. Okay? That's where it's got to start, guys. Got to start with us. Okay. Guys, we got a great week going. Okay? We got a great week going. We'll keep it up. Okay? Friday is what? Question and answer Friday. So get your questions in. We love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.